Hello, my name is Raul Hernandez, and the book I am going with is All Quiet on the Western Frontier by Eric Maria Remarque. I ended up choosing this book because World War One history is something that is intriguing, along with I would like to see how the author portrays World War One. And just to say plainly, going through this book, you get to see a very real depiction of what happened during World War One through what the series of events that concurred. Uh, the excerpts that I have chosen are here. Habit is the explanation of why we seem to forget things so quickly. Yesterday we were under fire. Today we act the fool and go foraging through the countryside. Tomorrow we go up to the trenches again. We forget nothing really. But so long as we have to stay here in the field, the frontline days, when they are past, sink down in us like a stone. They are too grievous for us to be able to reflect on them at once. If we did that, we should have been destroyed long ago. I soon found out this much. Terror can be endured so long as a man simply ducks, but it kills if a man thinks about it. And then, at once, a new warmth flows through me. These voices, these quiet words, these footsteps in the trench behind me recall me at a bound from the terrible loneliness and fear of death by which I had almost destroyed. They are more to me than life. These voices, they are more than motherliness and more than fear. They are the strongest, most comforting thing there is anywhere. They are the voices of my comrades. I am no longer a shuddering speck of existence, alone in the darkness. I belong to them and they to me. We all share the same fear and the same life. We are nearer than lovers in a simpler, a harder way. I could bury my face in them, in these voices, these words that have saved me and will stand by me. These excerpts help paint out what this book is trying to say. And although I what I could say about it is unjust to what it displays, because we see that a group of classmates on the German side in World War One, they progress from being the youthful with recruits with hope and aspirations in life as they join because of their schoolmaster, which with their patriotic messages of war and the soldiers and everything about it, they soon joined the military, a group of classmates together. Now these classmates first begin after coming back from the trenches at their first real look at what goes on. And through this they first encounter the death of one of their classmates, a man by the name of Kemmerich. And through this we see how at first this is their first death and they seem really sorrowful, and it's a real it's a real moment of what goes on in war. However, soon we progress through the book, and soon they go back to the trenches and they start to experience death a lot more. And soon we start to see the toll war has on these kids, because in reality they're only like 20 years old, and they're being sent to the trenches going against the other side, the other side which aren't portrayed as people but rather the targets that they must go through, which this idea changes throughout the book through the narrator of Paul Baumer, as he soon starts to realize that the war isn't as great as they said, isn't as great as it was portrayed. It isn't that patriotic message. It's not that at all. And what goes on, he starts to see the inhumanities of war, and soon, one by one, his his once close classmates, his once comrades, the comradeship that they shared starts to fizzle out as one by one his teammates start dying throughout the war, and he starts to see them soon disappear, and he soon starts to go back into this absolute loneliness that overtakes him. The war is also contrasted to life back at home when Paul Bäumer is sent back home on leave. And in that experience, he starts to see that war really has changed him, and he's no longer that kid that came, no longer that kid with aspirations and hope, because in going back home, he starts to realize that he isn't like anyone. He isn't like anyone anymore, and he can't really relate to the people as they ask him questions, as they ponder what's going on in the war, as he talks to the kid's mother, which died in the very beginning of the book. He can't really understand that connection of war, because to him that the atrocities of war and everything that goes on is slowly just degraded as he no longer can see it as a citizen once would. And in doing so, we really get to see that this book is portraying that the degradation of the young kids who joined the war during World War One, and practically from both sides, it tries to show how this war has really corrupted the youth. And that is what I believe is the main purpose of this book.